Welcome to the Agilists Aspire and Achieve in Your Agile Career video podcast series. This series is all about helping you grow, thrive, and make an impact in your career and the community with an Agile mindset. Whether you're just starting out or you're an experienced practitioner, we're here to bring you inspiring stories, actionable advice, and meaningful conversations that will help you navigate and excel in your Agile career, meeting some amazing mentors along the way. Get ready to aspire, achieve, and thrive in the next step in your journey.
Can you start us off by introducing yourself, please?
Yes, of course. My name is Rebecca, and I'm talking to you today from Berlin, Germany. You can tell that I'm British. I've been here in Berlin for 12 years now, and I have worked in kind of agile roles or in technology for the most of my 18 years career.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to dig in a little bit deeper. Our topic today is career transitions, transitioning into tech. So I'm intrigued by that. Why don't you start by, our first question is, how did you start and find your Agile career?
Yeah, well, I would say maybe for the first half of my career, I didn't really realize I was having an agile career. I studied literature. I did an English degree. I think looking back, I wouldn't change that. I had a wonderful time. I spent 3 years reading 3 novels a week. Wonderful. Wish I could do that now.
Yeah.
But when I graduated, I was kind of shocked and appalled in the graduation ceremony that together with my degree certificate, I didn't get an offer to work at The Guardian. So I had to rethink what I was doing. Back then, you know, I was I wanted to have some kind of literary career. So, I don't know, writing, editing, something like this.
Mm-hmm.
I quickly realized that this was quite a difficult thing to do, and I kind of pivoted into working at an online copywriting agency, almost a newswire. I sometimes affectionately refer to it as a sausage factory for words. We were churning out lots of copy that was being sent via XML to client websites. So one day I'd be writing something that would turn up on a bank's website, another day something that would turn up on a plumber's website, and everything in between. But that was a really good introduction into the kind of online world. I was dealing with XML and kind of databases as well as writing copy and early kind of SEO practices. And from there, I kind of followed that path around into kind of online marketing when it was kind of still referred to as new media marketing in some traditional organizations. And what I ended up doing was what you would refer to now as product management, building or managing web redevelopment projects. Then from there, I moved over to Berlin. I worked in a startup, mostly on the kind of e-commerce marketing side, and then I actually transitioned again to lead the web application development team there as a product manager. That team was following Scrum. I took a Scrum Master course. I took some Agile coaching courses, and I kind of realized there that the things that I took from my degree to things that I'm good at, like seeing a bigger picture, storytelling, bringing people together, listening, understanding, grasping concepts, and then being able to explain them to different audiences as something that I could bring into the mix. And I think starting that journey, it's a long time ago, and I wouldn't necessarily say I've had an agile career. I would say that I've had a career, or I have a career in technology, but I have an agile with a lowercase a mindset. That's how I approach my work, how I fell into working in this world.
It's interesting. What a fascinating journey, I'd have to say. It's always interesting hearing from people who aren't from a tech background.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting how much the agile mindset actually um, can runs through the veins of lots of different professions and lots of different things. But people kind of just think of it as a tech thing, and that's a shame because there's lots of opportunity there that we get with that mindset. Um, so, what is your role these days? Like, you found yourself in tech. So, where are you now?
So at the moment, my role is head of agile development in the engineering enablement department of Springer Nature, which is an academic publisher. So I kind of come full circle back to
Wow.
something related to books and learning. Um, but the engineering and enablement department, we build the kind of platforms and services that app and app developers, internal development teams use. So we all know the concept of, you write some code, you deploy it somewhere, and you think nothing of it, and it just runs on the
Mm.
internet. All that stuff you think nothing of is the stuff that we're taking care of. So from a runtime platform to the cloud infrastructure to the centrally managed databases, to how you get metrics about how your app is
Mm.
performing, um, and of course the kind of the pipelines that connect your code to the place where it's going to run. So I would say it's quite a um, technical area. Um, we do a lot of stuff with Kubernetes, with building Docker images, containerization, and of course I don't know how to do that, but I work with people that do know how to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and I provide the kind of the complementary skills that means that we can work together to do this.
Mm. Wow. Yes, you sound very technical.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You sound like you know what was going. But I love that. It's um, that's the essence of a true servant leader is you don't know how to do those things yourself, but you work with you build a team around you that can do those things and
Yeah,
point them in the right direction
yeah,
from a vision perspective and
yeah.
trust them to get their job done.
Absolutely. And I would say, I have a kind of a leadership role. I have direct reports, but I also kind of work together with my peers to kind of um, lead manage the department. So everything that it needs to function so that we can provide what we need to provide for our, the rest of the business.
Mm.
So everything from line management to last week I was working out um, budget spreadsheets,
Mm.
and to this week I've been working on um, again supporting a group of engineers and business analysts on how we can improve the kind of internal platform that we offer. Does it make sense that development teams need to go and ask one team for a database, one team for something else, another team for something else, when
Mm-hmm.
all of these teams are actually part of the same place? And how do we unify that experience? And um, my role there is more like, as you say, servant leadership, a support function. I'm not setting the direction. I'm not necessarily um, planning the sessions that we're having together, but I'm there lending a hand as and when
Mm.
it's needed.
Mm. Nice. So you mentioned you're in Berlin. What's the Agile community like in Berlin, and what's the women in Agile community like over there?
Yeah, well, we have in Berlin, obviously, there's a big startup scene, so there is a lot of kind of um, stuff going on there. But I would say that now that I'm a grown up with two kids, I can't easily go out to the startup scene drinks on a night out and talk about whatever funky new concept people want to talk about.
Mm.
But I would say that we do have, I would say, more of a looking at that kind of the technology community in general in Berlin. There is a lot of stuff going on. We have I know a few people from different places that I've worked, women who've gone on to become founders and have kind of small meetups, organizations that support female founders, from things like how do you actually go and make a pitch, or even just doing a couple of talks about, do you need to care about our AI? The answer is probably no. We're fine. Just carry on what we're doing. Don't worry, we've dealt with that topic.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah.
Yeah, cool. So just digging a little bit deeper into your transition into tech, did you realize you were doing it at any point? Like, did you just happen to find yourself in tech one day and then it was just an accident?
I think it's an accident, definitely. It's not a there's an interesting question. Maybe it's a conscious decision to follow this path that I happen to be on. Um, and there are a couple of moments where I have taken conscious decisions. Like there was a time, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, where I was working as a product manager, and I'd reached this point where I just had total inertia. I couldn't anymore decide, should this button be green or blue?
Mm.
And I had no kind of enthusiasm for juggling stakeholder versus user needs. And I realized that um, the kind of the what we're building wasn't really where my interest lay. It's much more the how and the why, and that is where my interest and more of my skills are. So that's probably more of a I'm in I'm in tech. There's kind of a few different areas. There's the focusing on the product side. What are we building? How technically are we building it? And then more the kind of strategic, how ways of working are we going to approach solving this business problem?
Mm.
That's when I've probably realized that that type of work that I enjoy is much more kind of common in a setting, in technology.
Yeah. Do you do like any workshops or
Oh
like
yeah, of course, all the
where
time.
you facilitate something that
Yeah.
is not in tech's wheelhouse, but you might approach it a bit differently because of your background?
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously one of the things that I do a lot for the department that I work in is facilitation, and if we're having big um, workshops or sessions of working together to try and get to an end solution, this is something I do a lot of. It's not necessarily something that I would think, oh, this is a great example, because it's just part of my day-to-day role,
Mm.
really. We had a workshop a couple of weeks ago, really big topic, that was, forward-looking. I did work together with a couple of colleagues to structure what we were going to do, and then we're two of us together working as a pair, facilitated the workshop. And I do think this is where those non-technical, we call them soft skills, complementary skills, come into play. Being able to kind of look forward, using maybe some techniques that need a little bit of practice to get right. I'm sure that we've all read about an interesting liberating structure, tried to try it, and it's fallen horrifically flat. So this quite often happens. Yes, but I'm not sure though if I would say that that's something that I've brought from outside of this world. because I think those techniques are quite often closely coupled to working inside of a technology domain. This
Mm.
idea of having workshops, of um, working in this kind of collaborative way.
Mm. Yeah. Have you found in your experience, or in recent years anyway, more of a lean towards just doing and pumping out work, and kind of less of the getting together and workshopping it out, and having those collaborative opportunities?
I think post pandemic, we're seeing a little bit more of the let's just focus on delivery. We need to move
Mm.
quicker, cheaper, better, all of this all at once. Let's just do it. I do have not necessarily a solution, but one of the kind of practices to use to deal with this scenario of this focus on delivery is always you have to have a good relationship with stakeholders. You need to
Mm.
think about, okay, we can do this, but then what should we stop doing? And I think what I see um, is a lot of not stopping stuff.
Yeah.
So we can do this because this is important, but
Yeah.
is there kind of stuff over here that we're just doing because we've done it for years and being a little bit kind of ruthless?
Mm.
Is anyone using that feature? Does anybody use this service? Is this actually adding value? If you can't answer those questions, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Or automate it away. This is also
Yeah.
something that can
True.
help to balance that increased focus on delivering stuff.
Mm. Yes, the art of saying no has
Very
been
much.
lost in the last
Yeah,
couple of years.
yeah.
And it's just yes, 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 yes. And so those activities of trying to, that we would have done in the past to get people on the same page and have that shared understanding and working with their
Mm,
stakeholders and all of that sort of thing kind of gets um, cancelled because we're too
mm,
busy doing delivery.
yeah.
Um,
And I think they've switched to more kind of hybrid working as well. You have less opportunity to do that face to face,
mm,
but there are, a remote workshop isn't necessarily as fulfilling or doesn't maybe feel as good as a in-person 2 days, including a dinner
yeah,
where you get the benefits of a little bit more social time with the people you
yeah,
work with.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but it can still be effective. I think maybe that's something that's changed as well, is how do you adapt these practices and um, techniques to a hybrid or remote setting.
Yeah. What other complementary skills do you think you bring to a tech world?
Um, I think the communication part we talked about a little bit is like I don't know how to technically do something, but I know how to explain it. I know how it fits together. And
Mm,
I don't know, sometimes you would say that's systems thinking, but not necessarily in a traditional systems thinking. It's more
mm,
like
mm,
how do these things fit? Like what would be um, if we do this, why are we doing this? I think the analytical part of stuff is okay, why are we doing this? Does it make sense to do this? So asking those difficult questions,
mm,
whereas we could easily, I think, sit in a room, decide to build something, and we just go and build it, and then we realize it didn't solve the problem we thought it was
mm.
solving. Maybe that's because we didn't necessarily ask beforehand, why are we doing this? What's the point of doing this?
Yes, what's the
Um,
problem we're trying to solve?
yeah,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and and I think just keeping sight of that. Um, I guess one thing I bring is almost like pragmatism as well. Like this, is it realistic if we do this? Is it not? It's okay if we don't do this as well. I think I think it's important to bring this kind of this. I don't want to say psychological safety, but that's basically what it is. This, it's okay if we don't build this. It's
mm,
okay if this doesn't work. as long as we have a learning or a story to tell about why. I think it's the something else.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. What are you doing for your own professional growth?
I take the last couple of years I've been doing mentoring both as a mentee and a mentor, and I found that really rewarding. So obviously I've been involved in the Women in Agile mentoring scheme as a mentor. It's been really good. Um, I've enjoyed the kind of the power hours that are offered, which is like a kind of where the mentors get together once a month and kind of share experiences and learnings. Find that quite useful for development. I'm quite fortunate that my company offers a couple of career development tracks for leaders and managers, and that's been
yay.
quite interesting. I think I had some feedback recently that I need to work on my executive presence. This is something that
What does that mean? Executive
I,
presence.
I think it's I understand it to mean that it's this I think it's also referred to as a leadership point of view in like the Blanchard concepts.
Right.
Like I guess it's more like a kind of a posture of confidence in front of very senior people. I think since moving out of product and focusing more on the how we're building things, I deal a lot less with people, senior stakeholders in that way, and I've lost a little bit of that art, and that's something that I want to build back up. And I think as well, not one of the things I do that maybe I'm not writing down on a piece of paper. This is career development. It is not being afraid of situations that are scary. That if that makes sense. So there are scary or challenging, taking on work or being involved in things that maybe a couple of years ago I would not want to touch because it's too complicated, or the 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 potential of what it might mean, the impact, the results. I think getting more exposure to those scenarios is something that I'm doing that is probably will help me to develop different skills and add new experiences to learn from.
You don't read in books anymore?
I do, but I don't. This is terrible. I don't read work-related books.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I do this every day. So I only read non-fiction books.
Yep.
Yes.
Give your brain a break.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but it's still challenging, inspirational, interesting books, but not. I'm not going to recommend, I don't know, the latest book about whatever. There are a few staple books that I refer to or I use as kind of reference, but there's not necessarily that I read those kind of business books for pleasure.
Yeah. Do you have any final words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our listeners, our audience?
I guess the thing that I said before is that this idea of Agile with a capital A, like that, we can go on courses, we can become certified Scrum Masters, but that's not what we should be doing in these kinds of roles. It's more about making sure we have an Agile mindset and we're approaching solving business challenges with these kinds of practices and principles and not necessarily with a prescribed framework. I think that this is something that when I talk to people that I'm mentoring or things like this, I think this is a big eye opener when people realize that Agile doesn't mean following the Scrum Guide or applying SAFe framework. It is exactly, it's more than this, or even less than this. It's about those kind of core concepts of small feedback loops, talking to people, pivoting when you need to pivot, not being afraid of doing that or of making mistakes.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on our podcast. It was really nice to meet you and hear your story.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Agilists, Aspire and Achieve in Your Career. We hope you found inspiration and practical tips to elevate your Agile journey. Remember, growth doesn't happen alone, so consider exploring the Women in Agile Mentorship Program and/or follow the Agile Careers MPO on LinkedIn to see more content geared towards advancing your careers. A huge thank you to our amazing sponsors, Scrum.org, for their continued support in empowering Agile professionals and creating opportunities for career advancement. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what topics you'd love to see next. Keep aspiring, keep achieving, and continue thriving in your career.